Hello student, this is the Algebra 4.6 notes. This note video is going to discuss domain, range, and function. You should start associating the word domain with X and the word range with Y. Domain is the input into an equation or a function, and range is the output. Function. A relation is a function if for every X value there is exactly one Y value. So let's take a look at examples 1 and 2. Example 1, we see that 6 is in the domain and it gets mapped to two different values in the range. So we know this is not a function because every X can only be mapped to one Y. Now if we look at example 2, we see that each of the domain is mapped to only one Y, so we know that this is a function. You might notice that multiple X's are mapped to the same Y. That doesn't matter, as long as each X is only mapped to one Y. One way to test to see if a graph is a function is to do what's called the vertical line test. If you can draw vertical lines through the graph and only hit one point at a time, then the graph represents a function. So that would be me drawing multiple vertical lines. If I can only ever hit one point on the graph anytime I'm drawing these vertical lines, then it is a function. So this is an example of a function because it passes the vertical line tests. Now, an example of something that wouldn't pass the vertical line test, let me quickly sketch a graph here. If I had a function that looks like this, ignore my slappy drawing. If I go to do the vertical line test, I see that this one vertical line hits at this point and this point on the graph. So this is not a function because for this X value, there are multiple Y values. Now, the last part of notes that I'm going to discuss with you today is a little bit of notation. In this section, you're going to see things like f of x equals 2x plus 3. F of x is just something that can replace the y equals. So it might look a little bit different, but we've encountered these before. Now, they might ask you to solve the function for a specific value. And the way they're going to ask you that is like to say, find f of 4. It'll say f of 4 equals blank. What that is telling you is to plug 4 in for x. So to solve for f of 4, we'd say 2 times 4 plus 3. And so f of 4 is equal to 8 plus 3 is 11. So it's just important to know this notation. The f of x is just another way of writing y. If you have any questions, please let me know.